last lecture, we discussed about the phasor diagram method, and we found out using this method how can we find the resultant amplitude, the amplitude of the resultant wave and the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first wave. So now we are going to apply this phasor diagram method on the diffraction at a single slit experiment. So we will see how the phasor diagram method will help us in finding the intensity at a particular point on the screen due to diffraction. So now in the case of diffraction at a single slit, so what happens? The plane wavefront, it falls on the slit, and the plane wavefront, it gets diffracted. So the waves, the secondary wavelets, they will reach point P as well as they will reach at other points on the screen. So this is any other point which we have taken, P prime point. So the light rays, the secondary light waves, they reach point P prime as well. So the light rays which are reaching at point P, the phase difference between the light rays is equal to 0, whereas the light rays which are reaching at point P prime, so there is a particular phase difference between the light ray which is coming from point A and the light ray which is coming from the other end of the slit, which is point B. So there is a particular phase difference, there is a path difference, and due to this path difference we can say there is a phase difference between the light rays which are coming from A point and that of B point. So we will consider that the phase difference between the light rays which are coming from A and B point is equal to twice of beta. So we will consider that 2 beta is the phase difference between the light waves which are originating from A and B point, and they are getting focused at point P prime. So we are just considering this P prime point. So the light rays which are coming from A and B point, they have a phase difference of twice of beta. Means the last wave which is coming from the B point, it has a phase difference, it has a phase of 2 beta with respect to the first. So that is what we mean by phase difference, that the last wave which is coming from B point, it has a phase of 2 beta with respect to the first. Now this wavefront, let's consider this wavefront is divided into n number of waves. So there are large number of waves which are reaching point P prime, as well as the large number of waves they are reaching other points on the screen, but we are just considering this P prime point for time being. So let's say there are n number of waves which are getting focused at P prime point. So if we divide the wavefront AB, so this AB wavefront is divided into n number of such waves which are getting focused at a point P prime on the screen. So we are just considering this P prime point, and we are considering that n number of waves they are getting focused at P prime point. So this will help us in finding the intensity at P prime point. So first of all we will draw the phasor diagram. For this P prime point. So here is the phasor diagram which we have drawn. So here I have considered n number of waves. So let's say the first wave which is coming from A point, let's say it has a phase of 0. Then the next wave, it will have, let's say it will have some phase, let's say that is 5 phase with respect to the first. Then the third wave will have a phase of twice of 5 with respect to the first, and so on. The last wave is considered to have twice of beta phase with respect to the first. So the first wave which is coming from A point, the first wave, it is represented by a vector. So the length of the vector, it represents the amplitude. Let's say amplitude of each wave is equal to E, capital E. So the length of this vector will be proportional to capital E. Then the second vector will be drawn, and this will represent the second wave which is getting focused at P prime point. So it will have a particular phase with respect to first. So it is inclined at an angle, a particular small angle with respect to the horizontal. Similarly, the third wave, it will have another phase with respect to the first. So the third vector will be drawn, at a particular angle with the horizontal, and the angle will constantly increase as you move from A to B point, because the path difference is increasing as you move from A to B point. Hence the phase difference of the waves will increase as you go from A to B point. So as you go from A to B point, so as you will draw the vectors, the angle of the vector with respect to horizontal, it will keep on increasing. And let's say this is the last vector which represents the wave which is coming from B point. So let's consider this vector. This vector represents the wave which is originated from this end point of the slit, which is the B point. So this is the vector, this is the last vector which we will draw, and the end point of this vector is capital P. So this is the last point. So the initial point was capital O in the phasor diagram, and the last point is represented by capital P. Now this last vector, it represents this last wave, and we have already assumed that the last light wave, it has a phase of twice of beta with respect to the first. So this vector, last vector, it will make an angle of twice of beta with the horizontal. So this last vector, it will make, so we have produced this last vector in the backward direction, and we have produced this first vector in the forward direction. So the angle that will be made by this last vector with respect to the first, it will be twice of beta. And the length of this OP vector, so this will be the length of the OP vector, and this will represent the amplitude of the resultant wave. The length of OP vector will represent the amplitude of the resultant wave, and this angle which is made by OP vector with the horizontal, it will represent the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the horizontal. So twice of beta represents the phase of the last wave, the phase of this wave which is originating from the second end point of the slit. So phase of this wave with respect to the first is given by twice of beta, and this angle will represent the phase of the resultant wave with respect to the first. Now this phasor diagram, this particular phasor diagram which we have drawn, it is for n number of waves. It is for limited number of waves because we have drawn limited number of vectors. But in the case of diffraction, so if you consider this P prime as the observation point on the screen, so you will see there are not finite number of waves, there are infinite number of waves which will reach point P prime. So this wavefront, it can be divided into infinite number of small sections. So infinite number of waves, they will get focused at P prime point. So this n, it will approach to infinity for the case of diffraction at a single slit. So now we are going to use the condition that n tends to infinity for the case of diffraction at a single slit, because there are infinite number of waves that will reach point P prime, and so it is true for all other points on the screen. So there are infinite number of points in the infinite number of waves which are reaching a particular point on the screen. So in actual, there are infinite number of waves getting superimposed at a point on the screen. So therefore we have to use this limit that n approaches to infinity. Now the number of vectors we have assumed that they tend to infinity. So if this number of vectors, they will be infinite, and the phase of the last vector, it remains the same twice of beta. So it will remain the same, and we are using the condition that n tends to infinity. So this point will be fixed because we have said that angle of the last vector with respect to horizontal is twice of beta. So this is fixed, but we are using the limit that now there are infinite number of vectors, because there are infinite number of waves which are getting superimposed in the case of diffraction. So this whole curved section, it will be comprising of small number of vectors. So this curved portion which we have drawn over here, now there will be small number of vectors and there will be infinite number of such vectors. So there will be infinite number of such vectors, and when you will draw infinite number of such vectors in this diagram, so this curved portion, it will approach to, it will become an arc of a circle. Now we are using this condition that n tends to infinity. So the number of vectors, they will tend to infinity. So this angle will remain the same, means this point and this point, initial and the final point, they will remain the same. But now this section, it will get divided into infinite number of parts. So if it will get divided into infinite number of parts, that is there will be infinite number of such vectors, then this length O, A, B, C, D, E up to P point, that is this O, A, B, C, D, E up to P point, this whole length, it will become an arc of a circle. So it will approach to an arc of a circle when n will approach to infinity. So when n tends to infinity, this diagram, this length, this O, A, B, C, D, E up to P point, it will approach, it will become an arc of a circle. So this is the initial point O, so it will remain the same. The final point B, it will remain the same. And this twice of beta angle, which is the phase of the last wave with respect to the first, it will also remain the same. Now this length, which comprised of finite number of vectors, now there will be infinite number of such vectors, and hence it will approach to an arc of a circle with center as C. So C point is drawn in such a manner that it is the center of the circle of which this arc is a part. So this arc of a circle, it is part of a particular circle, and a circle, it has a particular center. So we are assuming this point, let's say this point is the center of the circle of which this arc OP, this arc is a part of. So now the resultant amplitude, the amplitude of the resultant wave, it will be given by this, as in this particular case, this OP vector, length of this OP vector, it gave us the amplitude of the resultant wave. Similarly, in this case, this chord, so now OP will be the chord of the circle. So in this particular case, when n tends to infinity, now this OP will become a chord of a circle, because this curved length, it has become an arc of a circle. So this OP length, it will be a chord of the circle. So length of this chord, it will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave. Similar to this diagram, the length of OP vector, it gave us the amplitude of the resultant wave. Similarly, length of this chord in this particular case, it will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave. Now these will become the tangents. So OM, it will become tangent at point O, and PM length, it will be tangent at point P. So they will become the tangents, and they will make an angle of twice of beta with each other. So tangents to the arc at O and P point, at O and P point we draw the tangents and they meet up at M point, and the angle which is made between this tangent and this tangent is twice of beta. So now we are going to find the formula of length of this arc, length of this chord, so as to find the amplitude of the resultant wave. So using various mathematical calculations and using the properties of a circle, now using this approximation that n tends to infinity, using this limit, we have approximated this diagram to the length of an arc. So this diagram is similar to the length of an arc when n tends to infinity. Now in the next section, we will find the formula for OP length, and then we will use the various properties of the circles to find. First of all, we will use various properties of the circles and various mathematical calculations to find this length OP. So this length OP will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave, which comes after superimposition of infinite number of waves at point P prime. So from that resultant amplitude we will find the intensity, because intensity is proportional to square of the amplitude. First of all, we will find this length OP, and square of this OP length will give us the intensity at P prime point. One more thing over here, if you are assuming the amplitude of each wave is E, so length of each vector will be equal to E. So length of every vector will be equal to capital E, and if you are assuming there are n number of such vectors, then the length of the arc will be equal to n times E. So this length, this curved portion, it will have a length of n times E. So we will just add up the amplitudes. So we will just do the normal summation of all the amplitudes. That will give us the length of this particular curved region. So that will be n times capital E. So on the previous diagram we have seen that when n approaches to infinity, then we get an arc of a circle. And this OP length, it is the chord of a circle, and C was assumed to be center of the circle of which this arc is a part. So now we have drawn the whole circle, but only this red portion, this curved red portion, which is OLP, this is the arc of the circle which we will consider, and this OP chord, the length of this chord will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave. So using the properties of a circle, now we will find what is the length of this chord. So let's say this is the center of the circle, and this point L is assumed to be on the circumference of the circle. Now the angle which is made by the last vector which we had drawn over here, the last wave, it has a phase of twice of beta with respect to the first. So this angle will be equal to twice of beta. So C is the center of the circle of which the arc OLP. So OLP is the arc. So center of the circle is C, of which the arc OLP is a part of. Now we will use the geometry to find the angle OCP. So angle which is made by the arc at the center of the circle. So angle made by the arc at the center of the circle. So we are going to find what is this angle. So now the main task of this whole article will be to find this length OP, that is to find the length of the chord. So that will give us the amplitude of the resultant wave, and then we will find the intensity of the resultant wave on the screen. So to find that, first of all we are going to find the angle OCP. So this OCP angle, it will be equal to twice of beta. So you can use geometry from here. Now this is the radius of the circle, and this is also the radius of the circle, and using the properties of the circle, we know that radius, it always makes an angle of 90 degree with the tangent. So this angle is equal to 90 degree. The angle which is made by the radius and the tangent is 90 degree. Similarly over here, the angle made by this radius and the tangent which is drawn at this particular point, it will be equal to 90 degree. Then this angle we have assumed it is equal to twice of beta. So this angle will be equal to 180 minus 2 beta. So this will be equal to 180 degree minus 2 beta. Now in this quadrant MPCOM, so this quadrant, thus we know in the case of a quadrilateral, it is a quadrilateral. So in the case of a quadrilateral, we know the summation of all the angles is equal to 360 degree. So summation of all the internal angles in a quadrilateral is equal to 360 degree. So 180 minus 2 beta plus 90 plus this particular angle which we are going to find. So that should be equal to 360 degree. So from there you will find that this angle will be equal to twice of beta. So using geometry you can find this OCP angle will be equal to twice of beta. And now you will use the properties of the arc. So let's say this is the center of the circle and this is the arc. So we are just taking an example. This is the center of a circle and this is the arc which has a length of L and radius of the circle is small r. And the angle which is subtended by this arc at the center of the circle is theta. So property of the arc is that theta angle is equal to length of the arc divided by the radius of the circle. So this property we will use. So in this particular case, we will use this formula. So now we will use this twice of beta. So twice of beta is the angle which is subtended by this whole arc OLP. So angle subtended by OLP arc at the center of the circle is twice of beta. So angle OCP, it will be equal to length of the arc, that is length of the arc OLP. Arc OLP divided by the radius of the circle. So we will use this formula. So from here we will find what is the arc OLP. The length of this arc OLP, it will be equal to, so OCP angle, we have just found that OCP angle is equal to twice of beta and arc OLP, let's say that is equal to x divided by radius of the circle. So we are considering the radius of the circle is r. So from here you can find the length of the arc OLP. It will be equal to twice of beta into the radius of the circle. And we have just found that this length of the arc, let's say there are n number of waves. So we had considered there are infinite number of waves. So let's assume we will put the limit of n later on. So let's assume that there are n number of such vectors that are present in this arc that make up this arc. And amplitude of each vector, the length of each vector, let's say that is capital E. So this length of the arc will be equal to n times E. So which we have just seen that the length of the arc is equal to n times capital E. So if n number of such vectors, they make up this arc. So n number of vectors make up this arc and length of each vector is equal to capital E. So this length OLP will be nothing but equal to n times capital E. So arc length OLP, it is equal to twice of beta into r from this formula, and it is also equal to n times capital E. And n times capital E, let's assume this is equal to E0. So let's say this is equal to E0, and from this equation, from this particular equation, we will find twice of r. So twice of r will be used later on in the derivation. So from this formula, we will find what is twice of r. So 2 beta into r is equal to E0. So from this equation, we will find twice of r will be equal to E0 divided by beta. So twice of r is equal to E0 divided by beta. E0 is nothing but it is equal to n times capital E. So now we are going to find, so what we had to find the length of the chord. The main task of the article is to find the length of this chord OP. So to find the length of this chord, we will use this triangle which is made in the circle. We will take use of this particular triangle which is made inside the circle. So this triangle I have drawn over here. So the length CO and CP, they are nothing but the radius of the circle, and let's say that is small r. And OP, it is the length of the chord. So first of all, we will draw a perpendicular from the center of the circle on this chord OP. So we will draw a perpendicular, and that perpendicular, it will obviously cut the chord into two equal parts, means ON will be equal to NP. So in this particular triangle, it will be, so obviously you can see this triangle, it is an isosceles triangle because this side is equal to this side. So this angle, it will be equal to this angle, and similarly these two angles, they will be 90 degree because we have drawn a perpendicular bisector from point C on the length OP. So these two angles, they will be 90 degree. So using the properties of the triangle, we can see that this angle will be obviously equal to this angle. Now the total angle is equal to twice of beta. So this total angle OCP, using the geometry, we found that this whole angle is equal to twice of beta. Now this angle is divided into two equal parts, means this angle will be equal to beta as well as this angle will be equal to beta. Now we wanted to find the length OP. So to find length OP, first of all we had divided OP length into two equal parts, means ON is equal to NP. So if you find ON, you can find OP. So OP will be nothing but twice of ON. So OP will be equal to twice of ON. So now we are just going to find ON length. So using the properties of the triangle, we will find this ON length. So what we know this angle, this is equal to beta. And this hypotenuse is equal to radius of the circle. So this is also known. So this is the radius and this is the angle. Now opposite to the angle which we know, we have a perpendicular. So ON will be the perpendicular. And this is the hypotenuse. So we want to find perpendicular. We know the hypotenuse. So what we will use? We will use sine of angle. So sine of beta. Sine beta is equal to perpendicular, which is ON, divided by hypotenuse, which is R. So from here we can easily find ON is equal to R sine beta. So ON will be equal to R sine beta, and the length of the chord OP will be equal to twice of R sine beta. So chord OP, it has a length of 2R sine beta. Now this OP length is nothing but the amplitude of the resultant wave, and in the previous lecture we had assumed the amplitude of the resultant wave is equal to ER. So let's assume the amplitude of the resultant wave is equal to ER. So length of this chord is equal to ER. Now this length, it has come out to be equal to 2R sine beta. So we can say ER is equal to 2R sine beta. Now this 2R we have already found. This 2R is equal to E0 divided by beta. From this particular formula we have found 2R is equal to E0 divided by beta. So E0 is a constant divided by beta. So in place of 2R you will insert E0 divided by beta, and sine beta will remain as it is. So from here you will find ER, which is the amplitude of the resultant wave. So ER will come out to be equal to E0 into sine beta divided by beta. So this is the formula for the amplitude of the resultant wave in terms of beta. And intensity at a particular point on the screen is nothing but square of the amplitude. So intensity at a particular point on the screen, that is capital I, it will be square of ER. So it will be equal to ER square, and ER square is nothing but E0 square into sine square beta divided by beta square. So from here you can find intensity I is nothing but, so this E0 square, it can be written as I0 into sine square beta divided by beta square. So this is the resultant, this is the final result of the intensity at a particular point on the screen due to the diffraction phenomena. And intensity, you can see it depends upon beta. So it is a function of beta. As you move away from the center of the screen, so as you move away from the P point, so this beta, it will increase. So this beta will change as you change the observation point. So if beta will change, so intensity will also change. And in the next lecture we will see how this intensity varies with the variation in angle of beta. So beta, twice of beta, keep in mind twice of beta is the phase difference between the light rays which are coming from A point and B point of the slit. So the light rays which are coming from A and B point of the slit, the phase difference between these two light rays is equal to twice of beta. So this beta over here which we are using, this particular angle which we are using is half of this angle. So here it is beta and this angle is twice of beta. So this angle which we are using in this formula is half of the phase difference between these two light rays, and this is the final result of intensity at a particular point on the screen due to diffraction.